Hey, it's Sam from Sugar Spun Run, and today we are making cream cheese pound cake. I've shared a lot of variations of pound cake on the website, but today I'm sharing one of my personal favorites. We are making a cream cheese pound cake. It's a sister to my sour cream pound cake, which is also amazing, and you should check that one out. Now, the first thing you want to do is get your oven preheating to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. We want a nice lower temperature when we're making pound cake. That way it cooks evenly. One of the problems you can run into is if your temperature is too high, the outside will cook. You think your pound cake's done, turns out the inside is still raw and gooey. All right, next let's talk about our pan. You can use a tube pan or a bundt pan for today's recipe. I'm going to be using a bundt pan. Whichever you use, the important thing is that you grease it properly. Otherwise, you're going to go to flip it out. Your cake's gonna stick, you're gonna wanna cry. So let's just avoid that altogether. So I grease and flour my pan. I actually do use shortening for this, because I have just found this is what works best and is most likely to give me a cake that doesn't stick. Take a nice big glob of that. Glob. That sounds nice. And we are going to thoroughly grease this pan. It's a little easier if you're using a tube pan, but with a bundt pan, you have to get every crevice. And you can do this however you like. I don't want to get my hands all greasy, so I just use a plastic bag to sort of protect my hand from the shortening. The scariest part and the most intense part of making a pound cake or a bundt cake is always when I go to turn it out. Did I do a good job of greasing the pan? Go all the way up the sides. Once you have a nice even coating or thorough coating, we're going to add some flour and just sprinkle this in the pan. And then we're going to make sure the pan is completely floured all the way around. You just want a light layer. I usually do this over my sink, and I'm going to tap it out over my sink. And as you're flouring it, you're going to see if you missed any spots with the shortening. If you did, go back and grease those, or that's where your cake's gonna stick. After you've floured it, you do not want this much flour in your baking pan. We are going to tap it out. I like to firmly tap it. I'm not gonna do it here on my counter. It's gonna make a mess. I'll take it over to my sink. I'll tap it against the sink a couple times and shake out that flour. I'll show you how it looks in a second. All right, so you can see we have a nice, very light coating, greased and floured. One of the most important steps in today's recipe. All right, grab yourself a large mixing bowl. Into this, we are going to add 1 cup of softened unsalted butter, and 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. You do want to use a brick-style cream cheese, not the spreadable kind sold in tubs. The problem with that cream cheese is it has a lot of other additives, and it just does not consistently work well in most of my recipes that call for cream cheese. Don't use a low-fat cream cheese either. Okay, so today's recipe could be made in a stand mixer using the paddle attachment, but today I am just going to be using my electric hand mixer instead. And I'm going to cream together the butter and cream cheese until they're smooth, creamy, and lump-free. All right, let's give the bowl a scrape on the sides and bottom, just to make sure we've got the lumps out. Let's add our sugar. We are using 3 cups of granulated sugar today. I know it sounds like a lot, but this is a big cake. Also, sugar is what we do around here. Let's stir this in until everything is light and creamy. I know some people will be tempted to want to cut the sugar in the recipe. I really want to strongly advise you not to do that. Sugar plays several roles in baking. It's not just a sweetener. It also is one of the key ingredients for making the cake moist. Sugar is a wet ingredient, and when you cut the sugar, you could end up with a cake that is a lot drier than it's supposed to be. Okay, I'm gonna repurpose my sugar bowl here. Grab my eggs. You'll need 6 large eggs. These should ideally be at room temperature, just because all of your ingredients should be at room temperature. It's going to help everything combine nicely. And I'm gonna crack it in a separate bowl, if I can get through that shell. Give it a light scramble. We'll add that in, all of it. We'll stir this really well. I add the eggs one at a time, and then I'll beat them on about medium-high speed for about 30 seconds after each addition. We'll repeat this with the rest of our eggs. So we're adding the eggs gradually and mixing them like this because one of the things we're doing is not only incorporating the eggs really well into the batter, but we're also incorporating some air, which is going to help give this pound cake some of its lift. We're using a little bit of leavening agent, just I think it's a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, which is not really much. And with pound cakes, you don't want to use a lot of leavening agent. You want to rely on the eggs and the sugar and the creaming process to give the cake any lift that it's going to have. Pound cake is supposed to be dense, but it should have a nice texture that melts in your mouth, and this method that we're using here all contributes to that final result. It's dense, but it should never be dry. Honestly, the most likely reason a pound cake turns out dry is if it's been accidentally overbaked, or if too much flour was accidentally used. But overbaking a cake is seriously one of the worst things you can do to it. Even like 2 or 3 minutes too long in the oven, it's terrible. As we're making this batter, it should look nice and smooth and velvety. There shouldn't be any lumps in it. It's really a beautiful batter. And not that I would ever condone this, but tastes really good too. Right, last egg. Next, we are adding a tablespoon of vanilla extract. Stir that in. And again, we're going to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl and then give everything one more stir. This batter is just gorgeous. I don't know if anyone ever feels that way about their cake batter, but I love this one. Such a pretty color too. All right, grab yourself another mixing bowl, and in this one, you are going to weigh out 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I did try this recipe with cake flour. I will include the substitution because people always want to know how they can make things with cake flour, so I want to let you know. But let me tell you, we really enjoyed this cake batter when made with all-purpose flour. Cake flour, the crumb was just a little bit too fine and it almost felt like cottony in the mouth, so I recommend all-purpose flour. So this is 3 cups. We're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. We're also going to add a teaspoon of table salt. So whisk these ingredients together. My mixing bowl, it's a little bit too small. All right, and now we are going to gradually add this to our beautiful butter batter. See if I can do that one-handed. Bit, and I didn't drop anything. One more scrape of the sides and bottom of the bowl. Everything should be pretty nicely incorporated. Looking good. Now I'm going to turn my mixer to about medium speed, and I'm going to beat this for another minute. Once I'm finished, the batter should be nice and uniform, lump-free, and it'll just look smooth and silky. All right, looking good here. Let's grab our pan. We'll go ahead and pour this batter evenly into the pan, or spread it into the pan. It's pretty thick, but just gorgeously smooth, if I do say. And I'm going to take this opportunity to tell you how important it is to make sure you have an oven that's running true to temperature. I keep actually 2 thermometers in my oven. Try to keep them around the same place where you're baking your food, because most people's ovens don't run true to temperature. I learned this at my old house. I had an oven that ran 25 degrees hotter than it said it was. So most people need to adjust. An oven that's running too hot will obviously cook your food too fast. An oven that's running too cold will obviously take longer. So the best thing you can do is just keep a thermometer in there. A little bit of a mess there. All right, I'm going to smooth this batter. It bakes nice and evenly. Gorgeous. Now we are off to the center rack of our 300-degree Fahrenheit oven. I find my cream cheese pound cake usually needs to bake for 1:35 to 1:40 minutes. If your pan is lighter than mine, you might need a little more time. If your pan is darker than mine, you might need a little bit less time. Now, when you're testing to see if this cake is finished, the best way to do it is to use a long wooden skewer. A toothpick just doesn't cut it here. We're going to insert this in the center, all the way down to the bottom, or I guess you call it the top of the cake, and then that toothpick should come out clean or with a few moist crumbs, but no wet batter. So after your pound cake is out of the oven, you're going to want to let it sit in the pan for just about 10 to 15 minutes. I usually let mine sit for 15 minutes, and then you're going to carefully invert it onto a cooling rack. This is the moment of truth. So we're always get nervous. Tube pan would have been the safer bet here, less ridges. Go ahead and invert this. Give it a couple of good luck taps. That's pretty good. Okay, you can see one minor imperfection. I'll take it. All right, let this cool until it is no longer super hot, and then you can go ahead and dig in. All right, let's cut into this baby. Nice dense cake. My favorite part is that like meringue-like crackly part. It's now the bottom of the cake, but it was the top when we were baking it. Ta-da! Look at that. Perfectly baked, gorgeous cream cheese pound cake. It's a very simple cake, but it really has an incredible flavor, and it's just a nice change up from traditional pound cake. If you try this one, I want to know what you think. I always love hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. You can always top this cake with powdered sugar, put a glaze or a ganache on it, serve it with whipped cream and berries, that's great, but it's also good on its own. Could just bite it, but I want you guys to see the texture. It's so soft, it's dense, but it's soft. That's so good. You're gonna love this one. At what point do you think people are gonna start asking me, did she eat everything she made, or, you know,